Hi, Dad. I've started looking in the YouTube Creator Studio. I like seeing the numbers go up, and it's got this bit: get ideas for your next video, and then under that it says what people are looking for, and the number 2 item is how to say sorry to your dad. Um, and this is quite a difficult thing. Um, I'm kind of glad that people are out there trying to offer answers to this, or at least acknowledging that that's what the question is. I don't really know how these things get generated, um, but it's hard. It can be extremely hard. I think that it depends on a lot of factors. Um, I'm going to assume, yeah, there's a very easy, as you told me, for any problem there is an answer that is simple, obvious, and wrong. And the simple, obvious, and wrong answer to this is that the way that you say sorry to your dad is you go, "Sorry, Dad," um, or maybe, "Sorry, Dad," or "Sorry, Dad." That last one I think is probably like the most convincing delivery of the 2-word apology. But I feel like if people are searching for it, then that answer is failing them. Um, so let's look at this from 3 perspectives. One is what constitutes a meaningful apology. Secondly, we can look at your emotional state and whether you should be apologizing, and whether you can actually deliver a meaningful apology. And thirdly, we can look at the reception of the apology, and we can go through some examples of apologies that I have attempted towards you, and how those were received. So measures. What makes an authentic apology? An authentic apology has 3 parts. A bad thing happened. I, the person apologizing, accept some measure of responsibility for the bad thing that happened, and my intent is to make things better somehow. So, and we can contrast that versus non-apologies. Your use of "I'm sorry, but" was a strong motivator for me to understand the difference between a meaningful apology and not. Similarly, "I'm sorry that you were offended." That doesn't accept responsibility for the bad thing. It's a meaningless, polite statement that you were offended, and I can see that that's bad. And it allows the person apologizing to invoke the magical social formula that says, "I said sorry, and so you're not allowed to criticize me anymore." But I'm not going to go any further into the depth of anger that I have towards those non-apologies. I might wait until a celebrity gives a stupid non-apology and rant about that later. I'm sure it'll happen sooner than later. So you want your apology to be meaningful, and you want to mean it, which means that there has to be a bad thing that you are actually accepting responsibility for, at least in part. When you were dying, I said to you, "I'm really unhappy that I didn't find my way back to you sooner." I had a deal with your fourth wife, I think she was. The wife that you had when you died. The deal was that if you were about to die, then she would let me know with enough time that I could attempt one last conversation with you. And and her assessment was that you were in good enough health that there was time, several years to go. And she didn't anticipate your suicide. And so I found myself with a lot less time to talk to you than I had planned. And I did sincerely wish that I had found the strength to lower my expectations of you enough that I was able to tolerate your company and benefit from your wisdom. And so I was able to be honest when I made that expression of regret. And then I told you some nice things. And although you weren't able to open your eyes or speak, I did hear through the phone quite a loud sigh. And so that was the best response I ever got from you for something emotionally meaningful. I kind of blame you for the fact that earlier apologies didn't land. Let's talk about that. So a genuine apology communicates that a bad thing happened, and an acceptance of responsibility, and an intent to make things better. Acknowledging that a bad thing happened is not necessarily acceptable to men of your generation, men with your level of toxic masculinity. Yeah, we can talk about whether I should, not all masculinity is toxic. It's, but I remember saying to you that I was unhappy that I had said things that had hurt you. And you responded quite angrily that it was arrogant and presumptuous of me to believe that I could ever hurt you in any way. Maybe that's true. Maybe you are such, or were, such a cold, unfeeling, bad man that that I couldn't have hurt you in any way. But there were clues occasionally that you did actually have some level of caring about whether I hated you or not. And indeed, I think it was the last meaningful conversation we ever had. I remember you said to me that I was really good at hurting people. It's saying something cruel. You didn't say that you were hurt. You said that I had said something cruel. And I responded with, well, I learned from the best. Which was really satisfying for me in that moment, because I accepted the truth of what you had said, and proved your point by saying something cruel. So my advice to someone who wants to apologize to their father, who recognizes that you were young and stupid at some point in your life, and that not everything that you did was perfect. I salute that intention, and I invite you to lower your expectations. If you have had the patience to make it this far through this video, then your father may have difficulty receiving an apology. And it could be that that is the problem. There's an expectation of invincibility that a lot of men have, and a belief that if they show that they can be hurt, then they will be hurt. And there's a lot of cruel behavior towards men that reinforces that view. If I was to try it now, I think maybe I would start with, Dad, I think that it would be good for our relationship if I apologized to you. Sometimes getting approval for the intent. Dad, would it be okay if I apologized to you? And the answer might be no. Certainly there are, like, people can feel burdened on the receiving end of an apology. If you apologize to me, does that create an obligation on my part to tell you that it's fine? To reassure you? Maybe I'm still angry after you apologize. Maybe I want to retain the right to criticize what you did. Maybe I really, maybe I'm scared that your apology will be the sort of insincere non-apology that I'm always making, that is meaningless. Yeah. Maybe the thing to do is to not apologize at all. Yeah. If what, because maybe you've got this very fixed notion that what you want to do is apologize, but maybe what you want is the benefits that you anticipate if you are able to apologize in a way that is successful. So maybe look at what are you hoping for after the apology succeeds, and to say and to express that hope directly. Dad, I really hope that we can have a relationship where we can talk more easily. Maybe if that's the outcome that you're looking for, maybe stating that hope is better. Dad, I really, maybe this is what I should have said. Dad, I really appreciate your wisdom and your insight, but you hurt me more often than I can tolerate, and I want us to work out how we can hurt less often. I say that, and then I remember that I did actually try something very similar to that. And it was arrogant and presumptuous of me to presume that I could ever hurt you. Sometimes we find things difficult because we suck. And sometimes we do need to do better. Sometimes things seem difficult because they are difficult. Um, sometimes you're not the problem. Um, so yeah, understand why you want to apologize. Assess whether an apology is actually the most productive way of trying to achieve that. Understand that, I'm 49 years old, right? And I'm not as flexible as I was. There are things that I just don't have patience for anymore. Um, you know, there's work that I would like to get done that would take at least 80 years of full-time effort. Um, and so I have to face the reality that I'm not going to get that work done in my lifetime, and find ways of coping with that. And once you've reached that sort of point, um, then things that consume your time without generating any reward, you tune out from them very, very quickly. And if you have grown up in, you know, in the 50s, uh, then you're probably used to profoundly insincere apologies. I mean, you look at the garbage not apologies that do regularly come out of celebrities. If that's your concept of what an apology is, then you're not going to value it. And the moment someone gets started, you're like, oh God, more of this new. We used to say new age bullshit. Now we say millennial bullshit. It's just old people being cranky with young people because young people aren't completely burned out yet. And anyone who has more energy than you is inherently tiring. And by the time you're closer to 100 than you are to 50, then you're really getting old. And it could well be the case that the person you're dealing with just doesn't have the ability to receive an apology. Now, while you're doing it, understand the person that you're dealing with. Check that you can do an honest, meaningful apology. Go through it one more time. That you're stating that a bad thing happened and kind of seeking an agreement that a bad thing happened. That you accept a measure of responsibility for it. You do intend to make things better in future. I guess I should talk about the intent to make things better. I haven't done that yet. So it needs to be meaningful, and by the time you have reached a point where you're willing to suffer through me giving this explanation, you will have a history with your dad. And I'm going to try harder is not going to get you there. And I'm going to go to therapy is not going to land well unless your father believes that therapy actually helps. And if you're having difficulty apologizing to your father, then he probably doesn't think that it helps. People who believe in therapy are generally able to receive an apology. But I don't know. Maybe you're young and you're angry and you never learned to apologize, and your dad is actually, you know. But yeah, your intent to make things better has to be credible, and supported by meaningful action. So, if you're sorry that you stole some money, then give them back the same amount of money. If you're sorry that you damaged a piece of his property, then fix it or replace it. Um, if yeah, I could go and repeat myself, but try to avoid testing people's patience any more than you have to. Yeah. Um, yeah. If if I almost got to the thing that you wanted to hear, and I didn't get there, then let me know. Um, I I would love to believe that I had helped one person, um, do better for their relationship with their father. Um, if we if this goes viral for some reason and I end up getting a million replies, then I'm going to have to work out how to manage that. But that's a bridge that we can cross when we come to it, I think, because it's yeah. I apologize in advance if I'm unavailable or incapable or for some reason unwilling to help any particular person who sees this, wants my help, and it doesn't work out. Um, but I think it's time for me to say, we'll see where it goes. So we'll see where it goes.